perspective. When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set.
About what happened to Caitlin Clark, they'll be back in playoff action tomorrow against the Connecticut Sun in an elimination game.
Caitlin Clark just signed a lifetime contract in Europe. Yeah, you heard that right. Lifetime. What's going on? Why would the WNBA's brightest star leave for Europe? Let's break down this wild move and what it means for women's basketball. This is crazy, right? Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's golden girl, just flipped the script on everyone. Nobody saw this coming. She was supposed to be the face of the league for years to come. But now, she's taking her talents across the pond. You know what's even crazier? This decision could change everything for women's basketball. The WNBA, the fans, the other players, they're all gonna feel this. We're talking about a seismic shift here. So what made Caitlin do it? Was it the money, the fame, or something else entirely? We're about to dive into all of it. The ups, the downs, and everything in between. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. You'd think being a superstar would mean royal treatment, right? Wrong. Caitlin Clark's time in the WNBA was like a roller coaster, thrilling highs and stomach-dropping lows. What pushed her to make this crazy decision? Let's talk about Clark's journey in the WNBA. This girl was on fire from day one. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was rewriting the game. TV ratings shot up 46% when she was on the court. That's not just good, that's game-changing. But here's where things get wild. Despite being the hottest ticket in town, Clark wasn't feeling the love from the league. You'd think they'd be falling over themselves to promote her, right? Nope. It was like they had a star player and didn't know what to do with her.
She has you transfixed on the entire league. That's why I brought up Michael Jordan and Larry Bird.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set.
How all of a sudden, that's in the mind's eye of everybody else. You clearly have this person, Caitlin Clark, to thank for it.
Imagine this. You're breaking records, selling out arenas, and fans can't get enough of you. But when it comes to marketing campaigns, crickets. Clark was feeling sidelined, and not in the good way. It's like having a Ferrari and keeping it in the garage. Now, let's talk about what was happening on the court. Clark was getting hammered out there. She said it herself. I feel like I'm getting hammered, and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with. That's not just frustrating, that's dangerous. Remember that playoff game where Clark got hit in the eye? It was bad. Like, serious injury bad. And guess what? No foul called. Fans were losing their minds. It wasn't just about a bad call, it was about player safety. But wait, it gets crazier. There was another game where Clark got fouled so clearly, even my grandma could have seen it from her living room. And what did the refs do? Nothing. Nada. Zip. Fans were ready to storm the court. So here's Clark, playing her heart out, bringing in the crowds, and what's she getting in return? Poor officiating and a league that's not backing her up. It's like being the MVP of a team that doesn't want to win. You know what's really mind-blowing? Despite all this drama on the court, Clark was still crushing it in merchandise sales. Fans couldn't get enough of her. They were buying jerseys, posters, anything with Clark's name on it. But did the WNBA capitalize on this? You'd think they would, right? Instead, it felt like Clark was fighting an uphill battle. She wasn't just playing against other teams, she was playing against a system that wasn't ready for her star power. It's like having a rocket ship, but no launch pad. All of this, the lack of promotion, the rough treatment on the court, the feeling of being undervalued, it was all building up. Clark wasn't just a player, she was a phenomenon. But the WNBA seemed stuck in old ways, not ready to fully embrace what she brought to the table. So, what do you do when you're the biggest star in a league that's not treating you like one? When you're bringing in fans, boosting ratings, and still feeling underappreciated? Well, you start looking at other options.
That Caitlin Clark should have been on the team ahead of the 12 people selected ahead of her because of basketball. When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
The woman single-handedly carrying the WNBA to relevancy.
You know what's really mind-blowing about this whole situation? When Clark started exploring her options, she stumbled upon a gold mine. Literally. The numbers we're about to dive into aren't just big, they're game-changing. Ever wondered what a superstar's true value looks like? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about that WNBA rookie salary. It's a whopping $76,000. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, hold on to your seats, because that's nothing compared to what Clark's actually worth. Here's where things get crazy. Clark's estimated NIL valuation, that's name, image, and likeness for those who don't know, is a jaw-dropping $3.5 million. That's not a typo. We're talking millions here, folks. And get this, she's ranked 4th among all NIL-eligible athletes. Not just in basketball, not just in women's sports, but in all college sports. That's insane. But wait, there's more. Remember that Nike deal we mentioned earlier? Well, it turns out it's even bigger than we thought. Clark signed an 8-year contract with Nike for $28 million. Yeah, you heard that right, $28 million. And it includes her own signature shoe. That's the richest deal ever signed by a female basketball player. Ever. Now let's put this in perspective. Clark's WNBA salary is $76,000. Her Nike deal, that's about $3.5 million per year. Do you see the problem here? The league that's supposed to be the pinnacle of women's basketball is paying her a fraction of what she's worth. And here's where Europe comes in. European clubs have been offering more lucrative contracts to women's basketball players for years. We're talking 6- or 7-figure salaries, plus perks like housing and cars. Suddenly, that $76,000 WNBA salary doesn't look so hot, does it? This isn't just about Clark, though. It's about the whole system. The WNBA has some of the best basketball players in the world, but they're not getting paid like it. Meanwhile, these same players can go overseas and make bank. It's no wonder Clark decided to sign that lifetime contract in Europe. But here's the real kicker. Clark's marketability is off the charts. She's not just good at basketball, she's breaking records left and right. She's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I basketball history. That's men's and women's basketball, folks. She's a superstar in every sense of the word. So when you look at all this, Clark's decision starts to make a lot more sense. On one hand, you have a league that's offering her a salary that doesn't even come close to reflecting her value. On the other hand, you have European clubs ready to shower her with cash and a lifetime contract. It's not just about the money, though. It's about feeling valued and respected as an athlete. This whole situation highlights a bigger issue in women's sports. There's a huge gap between what these athletes are worth and what they're getting paid. Clark's frustration with the WNBA's treatment and compensation isn't unique. It's a problem that's been brewing for years.
I look at it from that standpoint and I say mad respect. Are there other players in the WNBA that are better? Yes.
About what happened to Caitlin Clark, they'll be back in playoff action tomorrow against the Connecticut Sun in an elimination game. Caitlin Clark has made this league relevant, and this deranged bigot.
Here's a wild thought. What if Clark signing in Europe is actually the best thing that could happen to women's basketball in America? It sounds crazy, right? But sometimes you need to shake things up to make real change. And Clark just brought an earthquake to the court. Think about it. Clark's decision isn't just about her career. It's about challenging the status quo. It's about showing the world that women's basketball is worth more than what the WNBA is offering. And you know what? This could be the wake-up call the league needs. Imagine the ripple effect. Other players might start looking at Europe too. Suddenly, the WNBA isn't the only game in town. Competition is good, folks. It pushes everyone to be better. The WNBA might have to step up its game, offer better salaries, better treatment. They can't afford to lose all their stars, right? But it's not just about the money. It's about respect. Clark's move is saying, hey, I'm worth more than this. And she's not wrong. Remember how she boosted TV ratings by 46%? That's star power. That's value. And if the WNBA won't recognize it, someone else will. Now, let's talk about the global impact. Clark's move could turn women's basketball into a truly international sport. We're not just talking about American players going to Europe anymore. We're talking about a global league where the best players from all over the world compete. How cool would that be? And get this, Clark's decision could inspire other female athletes in different sports too. It's like she's opening a door, showing them that there are other options out there. You don't have to settle for less just because that's how it's always been. But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark's move could actually make the WNBA stronger in the long run. How? By forcing them to innovate, to find new ways to attract and keep talent. Maybe they'll finally start marketing their stars properly. Maybe they'll find new revenue streams to boost those salaries. Remember Dawn Staley's words? She said, "I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport." That's huge. Clark isn't just changing her own future. She's lifting up the entire sport. She's making people pay attention to women's basketball in a way they never have before. And you know what? This could lead to a more competitive, more exciting future for women's basketball. Imagine a world where the best players are spread across different leagues, different countries. Every game becomes must-see TV. The level of play goes through the roof. But it's not just about the players, it's about the fans too. Clark's move is going to expose more people to women's basketball. Fans in Europe are going to see what all the hype is about. And American fans? They might start following European leagues just to keep up with Clark. That's how you grow a global fan base. This isn't just about one player leaving for a bigger paycheck. It's about changing the whole game. It's about showing the world that women's basketball is a force to be reckoned with. And maybe, just maybe, it's about pushing the sport to a level we've never seen before. All right, let's wrap this up. Caitlin Clark's move to Europe isn't just about one player. It's a game changer for women's basketball everywhere. Think about it. Clark went from feeling undervalued in the WNBA to signing a lifetime deal in Europe. That's huge. This could shake up everything. Other players might start looking at Europe too. The WNBA might have to step up its game. We could see better salaries, better treatment, and maybe even a truly global league. But here's the big question. What happens next? Will the WNBA change to keep its stars? Or will more players follow Clark's lead and head to Europe? One thing's for sure, women's basketball will never be the same. Clark didn't just change her own future. She might have changed the future of the entire sport.